America is losing its religion. Or is it? Hi everyone, it's Jeff, and this is Plain English, where we help you upgrade your English skills with stories about current events and trending topics. We often talk about the English-speaking world, but we do not often talk about religion. Well, we are today. This was an interesting survey. It came out at the end of last year, and it was all about the religious habits of Americans. It showed a funny thing. Americans have been getting less and less religious over the years, but the trend appears to have paused. Keep listening, and you'll hear all about the data behind that survey. This is episode number 847 of Plain English. And if you like this topic, even if you don't like this topic, you can still get some more English practice at plainenglish.com/847. That's where you can take a quiz, do some exercises, and share your thoughts about this topic with other members. plainenglish.com/847. Thanks to JR, the producer. Before we start today's story, I'd just like to remind you that the podcast is just one part of how we can help you upgrade your English skills. At plainenglish.com, you can make faster progress with active learning strategies. You can take quizzes, do activities, listen to the fast version of the audio, watch video workshops, practice what you learn, and even join a live call with JR and me. It's all about helping you build your skills to become a better, more confident English speaker. Sound good? Go to plainenglish.com to start your free 14-day trial today. Now, let's jump into today's story. There's a common assumption about modern life that with every year that passes, wealthy democracies grow less religious. Up until the latter half of the 20th century, America seemed to be the exception to this rule, more religious than its peers and slower to change. But eventually, the U.S. started following the trend of other wealthy countries. Here's what I mean. In the early 1970s, nearly 9 in 10 Americans identified as Christian. Today, though, only about 62% say they are Christian, a decline of nearly 30% in about 50 years. Where are people going if they are leaving Christianity? Not to minority religions. The percentage of Americans who identify as Jewish, Muslim, and Buddhist has held roughly flat over the decades, totaling about 7% combined over the long run. Some are atheists, but not many. The share is still only about 5% of Americans. The real growth has been in people who simply don't identify with any particular religion. Researchers call them the nones, as in none of the above. Not Christian, not other religions, but not expressly atheist either. And today, the nones are about 30% of the adult population. Religious identity is, to a large degree, inherited. Most people grow up with the faith of their parents, and many carry those beliefs into adulthood. But the inheritance is imperfect. Some people lose their childhood religion as they grow up. Some people raised without religion find one later. But in America in recent decades, far more have drifted away from faith than toward it. You can see this in survey data. 4 in 10 adults say they attend services less often today than they did as children, while only a small fraction say they attend more often. Religious education follows the same pattern. Many parents who went to religious schools send their own kids to religious school. Many, but not all. Together, these patterns explain why each generation has left a smaller religious inheritance to the next. For decades, each new generation of Americans was measurably less Christian than the one before it. But now, the decline in Christianity appears to have slowed or stopped. Americans born in the early 2000s, at the heart of Generation Z, are just as likely to identify as Christian as millennials born in the 1990s. They are also just as likely to attend services monthly or to say religion is very important in their lives. So after a long period of steady decline, the generational leakage has, for the moment, paused. There's a second finding that's equally striking and gets less attention. For many years, individuals grew less religious over the course of their own lives. But since about 2020, that within-generation drift has stabilized. Where prior generations grew less religious as they grew older, today's adults are not dropping their religious habits as they grow older. So the interesting thing is that both patterns seem to have hit a pause at roughly the same time. More people are staying religious for longer in their own lives, and the next generation is just about as religious as the prior one. It's also important to note that being religious and being spiritual are not always the same thing. Religion is organized. It has buildings, schedules, doctrines, and membership roles. Spirituality has none of that. It's private, self-defined, and doesn't require showing up anywhere. The two often go together. But even as Americans have stepped back from organized religion, many have maintained an active spiritual life. 82% of adults aged 18 to 24 say they believe people have a soul or spirit beyond their physical body. That suggests that leaving organized religion doesn't always mean leaving spiritual life behind. Is it possible that the trend could reverse and that America might actually grow more religious in the future? It's unlikely, but for the first time in decades, it seems possible. The trends are quite different elsewhere. In Africa, for example, about 9% of the population was Christian at the beginning of the 20th century. Today, that number is 63%. Sub-Saharan Africa has more Christians than all of Europe. Latin America is about 85% Christian. Even in Asia, Christianity is spreading. Only about 7% of the population in Asia is Christian, but that's still hundreds of millions of people. There have been 2 consecutive popes shaped by Latin America, Pope Francis, who was from Argentina, and now Pope Leo XIV. He's American, born Robert Prevost and raised near Chicago, but he spent most of his priestly life in Peru. And that is all for us here at Plain English on this Monday, March 16th, 2027. 2027 I have written down, not quite, 2026. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. St. Patrick's Day was the topic of one of the early episodes of Plain English. So if you want to hear what Plain English sounded like in 2018, look for episode number 30 in your feed. That's all about the holiday coming up tomorrow, St. Patrick's Day. But for now, we are all wrapped up. This was episode 847, so JR has uploaded the full episode to plainenglish.com/847. See you back here on Thursday for an expression, and next Monday for a new story. Listen up if you speak Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, or Turkish. One of the most frustrating things about listening and reading in a second language is being confused by unfamiliar words or phrases. When you listen to Plain English, or when you read the transcript, you probably encounter some words you don't know. When that happens, you have a few options. You can stop the audio, go look up the definition, then return to the episode, find your place, and press play again, but that's exhausting. Or you can just skip it and be confused. That's no fun either. But what if you could see the translation of the word into your language instantly without having to stop the audio, without having to look anything up? Well, you can at plainenglish.com. For each episode, we translate about 100 words and phrases from English to 9 languages: Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, and Turkish. And we highlight those words in blue. All you have to do is hover your mouse over the highlighted word, and you'll see the translation instantly. It works great on mobile too. It really makes listening a lot more satisfying, and it's a great way to expand your vocabulary in English. The best way to see these translations is to sign up for a free 14-day trial at plainenglish.com. During your trial, you can read as many transcripts as you like, all with the translations into your language. So sign up for your free trial today at plainenglish.com.